that's the biggest thing. If he could just at least go 5 innings or even 6. I mean, 5 or 6 innings shouldn't be too much to ask for. That he won't completely kill your bullpen. But he's been so bad thus far that he can't even give you 2 to 3 innings without the game being completely lost because he's given up 5 to 7 runs.
No, I agree. All right, I'm going to go split space here for a second, and then I'm going to
please do.
Say, I know no one in town wants to talk about hockey, but if you are a hockey fan and you're still watching these playoffs, what do you root for in the East right now? And 2,
wow.
How pathetic is it that Jeremy Jacobs, the owner of the Boston Bruins, still has not come out with a comment about this team's monumental collapse? He's kind of just hiding up in Buffalo, not saying a word. Any other owner in this town would have been crucified by now if they haven't come out. This guy has nothing to say. I think that's absolutely pathetic. Just want to get your take on both of those things, and have a good rest of the show.
All right, thank you very much. Excellent. I appreciate the call. Yes, I'm going to start with the Jeremy Jacobs point. I like where you went with that. I mean, what does he expect? Does he think with time this is going to be all forgotten? The fact that the Bruins not just blew a 3-0 series lead, but they blew a 3-0 lead with goals in Game 7. He's yet to come out and actually stick his chest out, take some of the heat and say, you know what, I'm sorry, fans, tough loss. I mean, let's look at Brian Gilbert. That's the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hats off to him. You know what? That city of Cleveland is reeling right now. They're hurting from their exit due to the Boston Celtics. They were expected to get to the promised land this year. As we all know, LeBron James is entering free agency. And it was Brian Gilbert who came right out, right before they even lost the series. He came out in Game 5 after they were absolutely demoralized on their home court saying, you know what, I'm sorry, fans, our guys didn't show up, you deserve better. And then after Game 6, he had a press conference, he addressed the media, he addressed the city of Cleveland. That at least speaks to volumes that this guy really cares and he's willing to face the music. Jeremy Jacobs, on the other hand, is just content with, all right, well, with enough time, hopefully this will heal itself and we'll be able to forget about what happened. No, this is one of the worst collapses in sports history, not just hockey history. This will never be forgotten. This once magical playoff run that we had has now turned into huge disappointment, as it should be. I know this team battled a ton of injuries, and that's what made them such a great mystique, because they were able to pedal forward with the few bodies they had, and they were this close to advancing to its first conference final since 1992. They were outplaying Philly in 3 games, and then all of a sudden, just like that, you lose 4 straight. And it's not even the 4 straight, as bad as that is. I could have lived with that, which I didn't think I could at the time. But if Game 7 was just one of those, okay, Philly started off good, then we tried to answer him, but Philly ended up winning the game, I would have gotten over it a lot better. It still would have hurt that you gave up a 3-0 series lead. But the fact that you came out in Game 7, leading 3-0, absolutely peppering Leighton and looking like, okay, now they'll make up for the fact that they gave up a 3-0 series lead because they're going to blow out Philly in Game 7, and that didn't happen. In turn, they gave up the lead. They lose 4-3 in one of the worst losses you could possibly imagine, and this guy is nowhere to be found. It's disgusting. It's despicable. He calls himself an owner. I don't understand his deal. There's a reason why the Bruins haven't seen, the Lord Stanley's Cup in their hands since 1972, and this guy really is a joke, and he needs to get out there and address the media because it's not going to go away. You're just making yourself look like a clown by not addressing anyone over it, and I think it's disgusting. To address your first point, I had a bent about Jeremy Jacobs. As far as who I'm rooting for, I will say this. I've been completely torn away from my loss. So, I mean, I'm a huge hockey fan, but at first I didn't even want to look at the highlights, never mind, tuning into the Flyers-Canadiens game. I didn't even want to see the highlights because it bothered me so much that it could have been my Bruins that were playing the Canadiens. But with time and the fact that my Boston Celtics have been very good medicine, I still haven't watched a second of that series play, but I have seen the highlights. And right now, I'll tell you this, and this kind of goes against my belief, if you will, because I truly despise the Canadiens, but I must say that I was happy to hear that the Canadiens, they won the other night. I was glad that they won last night, 5-1, that they might actually make that a series. I mean, right away, Philadelphia dominated them in the first 2 games. This goalie, Leighton, had the shutout. He had like 170 shutout minutes going, and I'm like, oh, great. City of Philadelphia is going to have more things to enjoy. Like, it is a great sports city, but they've had their success with the Phillies, and the Flyers, they're making this more of an improbable run than the Bruins have made, And they're not just going to get to the Stanley Cup, but they're going to wipe the ice with the Canadiens. And trust me, I hate the Canadiens just as much as any Bruins fan. And it's not that I'm going to say I'm rooting for the Canadiens, but at this point, I think I'm rooting against Philadelphia. I don't really care for Philadelphia in the least. I don't care that they beat us. They had this magical comeback against us, which they deserve all the credit in the world for. But it's not like it's one of those things, well, okay, I don't mind seeing Philadelphia win because we, at least as Bruins fans, can say, well, we lost to the champs. No, I don't care. It doesn't take away from the fact that we had our hearts ripped out. They won that series fair and square, but I couldn't care less to see Philly move on. And trust me, I don't want to see Montreal win the Cup either, but where I have these two teams going against each other, I have more of a fresh void in my heart from Philly than I do from an overall hatred. I still hate the Canadiens more than anything, but at this point, I wouldn't mind to see them make a series, and if they happen to move on, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I don't want to see either Philly or Montreal win the Cup, and I would like to think from the Western Conference that they should have enough to win the Cup. I mean, right now, the Blackhawks are playing very good hockey, and it looks like maybe they'll find themselves in there, although there's plenty of life left in that series. But